To be or not to be? That is the question. The other question is that a poem? Does that count as a poem? You see, I'm doing an episode about poetry today, and I needed something for the intro. So, yeah, is that a poem? I guess we'll find out. So, according to the Google, the answer to my earlier pre-titles query is yes. To be or not to be is a famous soliloquy from William Shakespeare's play Hamlet. While it is part of a play, it's often considered poetic due to its use of language, imagery, and rhythm. The soliloquy explores the question of whether it is better to suffer the difficulties of life or to end one's life to escape them. It's a powerful and reflective piece that has been widely analyzed and quoted. Yes, very interesting, very good play. I recommend watching the, I believe, 1948 film adaptation. Anyway, you probably want to know what a poem is. If I can go to the next page, my notes. Yes. The definition of poetry is literary work in which special intensity is given to the expression of feelings and ideas by the use of distinctive style and rhythm. Yes. Now, how about we discuss the types of poetry from a more comfortable position? That is better. So, there are numerous types of poems, and I will now tell you what many of them are. Haiku, limerick, sonnet, free verse, acrostic, villanelle, ballad, elegy, ode, epic, blank verse, occasional poetry, concrete poetry, dramatic poetry, blackout poems, lyric, pastoral, sestina, epigram, cinquain, prose, and ekphrastic. I hope I pronounced those right, but if I didn't, I don't really care because I don't feel like re-recording any of this. So, there you go. I don't know what many of those are, and I'm sure you don't care any more than I do. So, how about we go back to the library and continue this lesson? So, you're probably wondering about the history of poetry, or at least I assume you're wondering. Well, you better be wondering that because I'm about to tell you anyway. So, according to the Google, poetry's history spans millennia, starting with oral traditions and evolving into written forms. Early poetry served various purposes, including remembering history, genealogy, and law, often performed as a part of rituals. From ancient epic poems and the works of Homer to various poetic forms like lyric and dramatic poetry, poetry has reflected and shaped human expression and cultural evolution. Now, on to key periods and developments. Oral tradition. Before writing, poetry existed as oral traditions, recited or sung often accompanied by music. I swear, I know how to speak English. I may be old, but I'm not exactly close to disintegration, so I still know how to do things. Anyway, ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt. The Epic of Gilgamesh, approximately from the year negative 2000, and the Song of the Weaver from negative 25th century time represent some of the earliest examples of written poetry. And then, of course, in ancient Greece and Rome, Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, along with Greek lyric poetry, for example, Sappho, and Roman poetry, example, Virgil, contributed, don't turn off computer, contributed significantly to the development of Western literary tradition. Later on, in the medieval period, religious and courtly love poetry became prominent, with figures like Dante, I'm not going to pronounce that last name, known as the author of the Divine Comedy. Later on in the Renaissance, the famous William Shakespeare, along with some other people no one have ever heard of, including myself, actually, and Dr. Cakes, led the way with explorations of love, beauty, and mortality. Later on in Romanticism, emotion, nature, and individualism were emphasized, with poets like William Wordsworth and John Keats. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I assume I am. Now, allow me to scroll. I'm not very good at this. I actually did it. I thought I would need limbs, but I don't, I suppose. Now, modernism and beyond featured other poets and who experimented with new forms and language reflecting the complexity. Maybe I should disintegrate. Reflecting the complexities of the modern world. Maybe disintegration reflects that as well. I don't know. And then finally, slam poetry, a contemporary form that brings back the oral tradition with a performance-based approach. Now, I am tired, so I am going to go back to the chair from before so I can rest. And now, I will read to you a list of 9 very famous poets. Of course, there are many more than that, but this is what the Google gave me. And I sincerely hope that I pronounce their names correctly, but if I don't, I apologize in advance. Yes. So, Robert Frost, Emily Dickinson, Maya Angelou, Walt Whitman, Edgar Allan Poe. I don't know why that guy has so many names. Anyway, Pablo Neruda, Langston Hughes, Sylvia Plath, and of course, William Shakespeare. I unfortunately never knew him, but I've heard of him, of course, as one would expect from me. Now let's talk about some famous poems. Alright, so now that I have told you about some famous poets, I will tell you the names of some famous poems written by famous poets. These are such. Shall I compare thee to a summer day, the road not taken, fire and ice, if she walks in beauty, and I still rise, because I could not stop for death, and the raven. There are numerous more, but what is with that background noise? That's kind of annoying. Anyway, do people like poetry? According to the Google, yes, many people enjoy poetry. While poetry might not be as universally popular as other genres, it has a dedicated and growing audience. The National Literacy Trust found that 26.7% of children and young people read poetry in their free time, at least once a month in the year 2023, many years after me, of course. Additionally, from Whispers to Roars indicates that the poetry market has shown steady growth, with increased print and digital sales. Now, why do people like poetry? Emotional connection, creative expression, intellectual stimulation, sense of beauty, compact storytelling, personal growth, and memory aid. Yeah, there you go. There's the reason. Wow, that background noise is annoying. I'm not sure what's going on up there. Let's discuss why some people do not like poetry now. Now, as I just explained, many people like poetry, but there are also many people who do not, who I'm sure are not watching this video, because if you don't like poetry, why would you click on a video about it, even if there is a lovable puppet that is the host? Anyway, some reasons why people may not like poetry, according to the Google, are perceived difficulty, meaning some find poetry challenging to understand or interpret. Also, early negative experiences. Exposure to poetry in school can sometimes lead to negative associations, meaning that some people did not enjoy learning about it when they were in school, and that led to them not wanting to learn more about it as they were older. Also, lack of interest. Some individuals simply do not find poetry appealing. Did I just say appearing? Appealing, that is the word. I share... What is wrong with me? I assure you, I am qualified to discuss I assure you, I am qualified to discuss topics of English. I swear. Alright, that was all very interesting. Now, let us discuss the uses of poetry. According to the Google, poetry can be used for a multitude of purposes, including expressing emotions, exploring ideas, creating vivid imagery, and providing comfort. It can also be used as a tool for teaching and learning, helping to develop language and literacy skills. Additionally, poetry can be a source of entertainment and pleasure, offering a unique way to experience language and rhythm. So that's all very interesting. Now, to close out this very interesting episode, I learned recently that apparently many years ago, our very own Dr. Cakes wrote a short poem. It's very brief, but I figured that before I actually even see it, that I wouldn't even read it. Of course, it's background noise now. Well, anyway, let us have Dr. Cakes recite his poem.
Roses are red, flowers are blue. We will one day go to the moon.
Oh, well, that was actually quite bad. Now, because I don't want to just end the episode on that, I will read an actual, somewhat quality poem. In fact, I will be reading the Shakespeare poem that I mentioned earlier. Yeah, so let's go to a different wall and recite that. You suck at writing poetry, Dr. Cakes. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Art thou... I already messed it up. Let me restart. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou oust, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade. When in eternal lines to time thou growest, so long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Yeah. Okay, what the bloody was any of that? I have no idea what that meant. It was the first time I read it, actually. And I am so confused. I'm gonna go lay down. I'm just confused. What did I just read?